Spec Ops: The Line. The story itself might be set in a war-torn Dubai, but it's the way the game forces you to confront some heavy questions about morality and leadership that makes it stand out. The gameplay, while still rooted in the traditional cover-based shooting mechanics, feels so much more engaging when you realize it's not just about killing enemies. It's about strategy and thinking on your feet. You're not alone in this, you got your squad with you, and you can actually command them in battle to help you out. That little bit of extra control over how things unfold makes the combat feel more tactical and satisfying. The use of the environment is awesome too. You'll see sandstorms roll in, wreaking havoc, and the city's ruins make for some really interesting cover choices that can change the dynamic of every fight. What's really cool, though, is how the game plays with the idea of choices and consequences. It's not just about shooting your way through enemies to the next checkpoint. Every action you take feels like it might come back to haunt you, and that adds some real emotional weight to everything you do. It's not every day a shooter makes you question if what you're doing is the right thing. And let's talk about the setting for a second. Sure, it's set in a fictionalized Dubai, but it's the sand and destruction that really set the tone. The city is in ruins, and it's like playing in an abandoned post-apocalyptic version of a once glamorous place. The way sand is used as a tactical element adds a fun layer to the combat. Ever wondered what it's like to leap, swing, and battle through the air with the precision of an acrobat? In this game, you're doing exactly that, but with the twist of mastering ancient powers and unraveling secrets from the past. The moment you start moving, the fluidity is there. The kind of platforming that keeps you on your toes and makes you feel like you're on a never-ending adventure. Jumping into the world, you instantly feel the impact of how movement matters. Every action you take in this game is smooth, and that's really what stands out. Whether you're running up walls or sliding under obstacles, it's all about mastering that flow. What takes it to the next level, though, is how each movement ties into combat, where you can time your attacks with your parkour moves, creating this seamless dance between action and exploration. The timing is crucial, but when you nail it, it's incredibly satisfying. Combat is another place where things get exciting. You got your blades ready, but it's not just about hacking away. You got to think about the rhythm, making sure your attacks are spot on. There's this cool mechanic where your moves fill up a gauge that lets you unleash some powerful special attacks when the time's right. It's all about being strategic, knowing when to block and when to strike. And then there's the exploration. What really pulls you in isn't just the world itself. It's how each area feels interconnected. Dark Souls 3 is one of those games that you can't help but hear about if you spent any time in the gaming world. It's got this legendary status, and for good reason. The whole vibe of the game is about surviving the toughest challenges, and if you're into that kind of thing, it's a wild ride. Let's talk about what really stands out. First off, combat. This is where the magic happens. You don't just rush in swinging your sword like a maniac. Everything you do feels like it has weight. Each attack, block, and dodge is a calculated move. It's all about timing. If you mess up, you'll feel it, but if you get it right, oh, the satisfaction. It's like a rhythm you start to get into as you face some of the most creative and, let's be real, terrifying enemies you'll find it in any game. Every fight, whether it's against a random enemy or a huge boss, feels like a mini puzzle you're trying to solve on the fly. Then, there's the world. It's this huge, interconnected place where every corner hides something. You can't just rush through it. There's no hand-holding here. If you want to get through, you need to explore, pay attention, and maybe take a few wrong turns along the way. It's a world full of secrets, and finding those hidden paths or shortcuts that make your journey a little easier is like a mini victory in itself. That sense of discovery is always there, and it's one of those games where even if you're stuck, you just keep going because you know there's something awesome around the next bend. There's something ridiculously cool about hitting the brakes on a sports car, flipping a switch, and suddenly you're soaring through the skies in a stunt plane, all without a single loading screen breaking the flow. That's the kind of madness that makes The Crew 2 stand out right from the first few minutes. This isn't your usual racing game where you stick to one kind of machine or one stretch of road. The Crew 2 throws open the entire US map and lets you roam wild across highways, rivers, and skies, swapping between cars, boats, and planes anytime you feel like shaking things up. One moment you're cutting through Miami's sunlit streets in a sleek hypercar. The next, you're splashing through the Mississippi in a powerboat. And before you know it, you've traded water for altitude and you're flipping loops above the Rocky Mountains. The best part about this game is how smooth and fun that switcheroo system feels. There's no slow menus or awkward waiting. You just snap your fingers, hit a button, and your vehicle pops into place, ready to go. That little feature alone turns exploring the map into an addictive loop because the more you bounce between vehicles, the more you want to push the world's limits and find new spots to mess around. Events in the game aren't just set up for one type of racer either. The variety is nuts. One day you'll be chasing a finish line through a twisting street circuit, and the next you're hammering an off-road buggy across the desert or carving perfect lines through air race checkpoints. Death Stranding drops you into one of the most unique gaming experiences out there. It's not your typical action-packed thrill ride. It's slower, more deliberate, and all about making connections in the most unexpected ways. You're carrying packages, climbing mountains, building bridges, and doing your best not to fall on your face with a stack of boxes strapped to your back. And somehow, that ends up being way more compelling than it has any right to be. There's this oddly satisfying loop of planning your route, managing your cargo, and making it from point A to point B without everything going sideways. Every step feels earned, especially when you've trekked across rocky hills, rivers, and slippery slopes to get there. It turns simple movement into something meaningful. There's a real sense of effort and accomplishment in the most mundane tasks, and it somehow feels peaceful. But it's not just about walking. You've got all kinds of tools and gear to help you out: ladders, ropes, exoskeletons, even full-on vehicles once you get deeper in. It starts out pretty grounded, but it grows in complexity as you go. You start thinking like a logistics expert, solving terrain problems, and optimizing your deliveries like a pro. There's something addictive about mastering the system and getting into that delivery flow. And then there's the multiplayer element, which is genius in its own quiet way. You don't play directly with other people, but their presence is always felt. Outlast 2. From the very beginning, the tension is cranked all the way up and it just never drops. Outlast 2 is one of those games that doesn't give you room to breathe, and somehow that's exactly what makes it so addicting. You're always on edge, always running, hiding, peeking through the dark, wondering what's around the next corner. And the game absolutely thrives on that feeling. What's wild is how it constantly shifts the ground under your feet. Just when you think you've figured out how things work, it throws you somewhere new with a totally different threat, and you have to scramble to get your bearings all over again. It keeps you in this state of constant unease that somehow becomes the new normal. And weirdly enough, it kind of works. You start getting good at surviving the chaos. The camera is still your lifeline, and using night vision feels like both a blessing and a curse. You need it to see, but it also makes everything more intense. Those narrow beams of light cutting through pitch black spaces never feel safe. And the battery management, that stuff makes every little decision count. Do you risk exploring a side path for supplies or play it safe and move on? It's a small mechanic, but it adds so much pressure in the best way. And then there's the pacing. It's constantly shifting between full-blown panic and slow, creeping dread. One minute you're sprinting for your life, and the next you're sneaking through a cornfield praying you don't get spotted. Marvel Spider-Man 2. This game is an absolute blast to play, and it seriously cranks everything up a notch. It's not just your typical superhero game. It's a game that makes you feel like Spider-Man, swinging through the streets, taking down bad guys, and just soaking in the chaos and fun of being a hero. You've got Peter Parker and Miles Morales both playable, and it's so smooth to switch between the two. They each bring their own flavor to the table. Peter's got that classic Spider-Man vibe with the added bonus of his shiny new symbiote suit, which means really intense combat. Then, you've got Miles with his sneaky camouflage and crazy electric powers, so the variety keeps things super fresh. One minute, you're gliding across the city with Miles, and the next, you're unleashing tendrils as Peter. It just keeps it interesting, right? The world itself is bigger and better than ever. I mean, the whole New York City vibe from the last games is back, but this time you can zip over to Brooklyn and Queens too. It's like the city has come to life even more. Plus, those web wings they've added? Game changer. Gliding through the city is just a whole new level of fun, and I can't even begin to tell you how satisfying it is to land in a perfect swing, launching into a battle without missing a beat. You really feel like you're in control, like you own the city. Combat is also taken up a notch. You've got more gadgets, more moves, and just more ways to take down enemies. The Evil Within 2. If you're into games that get under your skin, make you think on your feet, and keep you on edge, this is one you should definitely check out. The game kicks off with you playing as Sebastian Castellanos. And trust me, it doesn't hold back. You're in for a world of weirdness and creepy monsters around every corner. It's a survival horror experience that feels both familiar and fresh, with mechanics that have clearly evolved from the first game. One thing that stands out right away is the game's open world feel. Union is a big place, and the freedom to explore it at your own pace is such a nice touch. It's not a completely open world game, but it lets you roam and get into side missions, which adds a lot of value to the overall experience. The combat is a mix of everything. You've got your classic stealth sections where you'll need to sneak around and conserve your resources, but you also get to go in guns blazing if you feel like it. And let's talk about that crafting system. The ability to create health items, ammo, and even traps is a game changer. It really adds an extra layer of strategy to every encounter. You never know when you'll run low on resources, so finding the right balance between crafting, scavenging, and using what you've got is crucial. One of the best parts of the game is how it lets you build Sebastian to fit your playstyle. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Now this one's all about jumping headfirst into an alien world and just getting lost in it. There's this wild sense of freedom right from the get-go. Like you're not being dragged along a straight path, but instead being told, hey, go explore, run wild, see what's out there. That kind of freedom is rare, and it's such a refreshing feeling when a game just lets you be. Everything in the world feels alive and interactive. You're not just moving through a space, you're part of it. Whether it's sliding down muddy hills, sprinting through thick brush, or leaping from one towering tree to another, the movement alone is just ridiculously satisfying. And when it clicks, when you're zipping through the wild like it's second nature, it's hard not to grin. Combat really mixes things up in a good way. There's a solid blend of up-close and long-range options, and switching between sleek handcrafted weapons and more high-powered gear feels smooth and punchy. It doesn't force you into one playstyle either. Want to be sneaky and pick your moment? Cool. Want to come in swinging and shaking the whole place up? Go for it. It rewards creativity and lets you go wild. One of the cooler little touches is how the game handles things like hunting and gathering. It actually pays off to be careful and intentional. There's a clear respect for the environment baked into the way the systems work. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is one of those games that just feels right if you're a fan of action and adventure, but also love a deep story. You step into the shoes of a Jedi Padawan, navigating a galaxy full of danger, mystery, and of course, a bit of lightsaber action. What makes this game stand out is its perfect blend of exploration, puzzle solving, and combat. Whether you're climbing, running, or using the Force to uncover secrets, there's always something that keeps you engaged. The gameplay itself, it's fantastic. The combat is really satisfying, not just swinging a lightsaber around, but truly engaging in tactical, thoughtful fights. Every battle feels important, and using the Force to tip the scales is always a blast. The lightsaber combat feels fluid, and the way you can block and parry enemy attacks adds a layer of strategy. Plus, the game incorporates elements of exploration that keep things fresh. You'll be unlocking new abilities that let you revisit areas in new ways, which means there's always something new to discover. The progression system is solid too. You get to make choices on how to level up, from improving your lightsaber skills to mastering the Force. It gives you plenty of ways to tailor your playstyle, which is great if you like having some control over your character's development. You can choose to be a more offensive Jedi or go all in on defensive tactics. Stray. Stray is one of those games you didn't know you needed until you're in the middle of it, getting lost in its world, and suddenly you're fully invested in the life of a stray cat. The vibe is very much feline meets futuristic city, and it pulls you in right from the start. You're not just playing a cat, you're living as one, jumping on ledges, squeezing through tight spaces, scratching things because why not, and meowing at anything and everything. It's the little things that make it so charming. You can nudge objects, pounce around, and just explore this world at your own pace. One of the coolest features is your cat's sidekick, B12, a drone that helps with, well, everything else. Think of it like your trusty sidekick on your adventure, translating robot languages, opening doors, and even helping you out in tight situations. It's kind of like having a wingman, but, in robot form. They really make a great team, and without B12, you might find yourself a little lost. But no worries, it's all part of the journey. You'll get plenty of chances to do some classic puzzle solving, like figuring out how to open a door or avoid getting swarmed by the creepy crawly creatures that are out to get you. It's a mix of agility and a little brain power, and it keeps you on your toes. The best part? You're a cat, and you get to do cat stuff, jumping, running, climbing, basically everything you've always wanted to do in a game without being limited by real-life cat behavior. Silent Hill 2 Remake brings a fresh and thrilling take on a classic, diving deep into the heart of survival horror with a modern twist. This remake isn't just about revamping visuals, it's about creating that same sense of dread and immersion that made the original such an unforgettable experience. The over-the-shoulder camera shifts the combat experience, giving you that intense up-close feeling when you're facing off against the twisted horrors lurking in the fog. The gameplay has been fine-tuned to keep things fresh, with a more dynamic combat system that lets you take on the enemies with an improved arsenal of weapons. Whether you prefer blasting through foes with a firearm or getting up close with melee weapons, there's a real satisfaction in every encounter. The new camera angles make things more intense, adding a layer of tension when you're exploring tight corridors or encountering something unexpectedly horrifying. The environments feel alive and chilling. With each corner you turn, there's this lingering sense of what's around the next one. It's that perfect balance between exploration and panic. You'll want to search every nook and cranny, uncovering hidden secrets, items, and more. This isn't a linear experience, it's a game that lets you really get immersed in its world. What makes it even better is how the game's choices matter. Depending on your actions, you'll experience different outcomes, encouraging you to replay the game and see what else you can uncover. Final Fantasy VII Remake. This game knows exactly how to pull you into its world and keep you hooked for hours without even realizing it. One moment you're figuring out your next move, the next you've sunk deep into fights, upgrades, and all kinds of satisfying little systems that just flow together perfectly. It's the kind of game that isn't afraid to let players feel strong, but still toss in enough challenge to keep things exciting. Combat hits that perfect sweet spot between action and strategy. Swinging a sword or unloading a few shots feels great, but the real fun kicks in when you start mixing attacks, abilities, and materia setups. There's a nice rhythm to the way fights unfold, almost like a dance, where timing and choices really make all the difference. Swapping between characters mid-fight never gets old, especially when each one brings a different style to the table. One of the best things about this game is how much it rewards curiosity. Whether it's hunting for new gear, experimenting with different builds, or chasing down optional battles, there's always something to mess around with. Even small side activities can lead to some pretty cool surprises if you take the time to dive in. The pacing has a chill kind of vibe, giving room to slow down and just take everything in between the bigger moments. It never rushes the player, which makes the whole experience feel more personal. It's not just about charging from one objective to the next, but about enjoying the journey and seeing what's hiding around the next corner. Far Cry 5 takes you straight into the heart of a sprawling open world. And let's be honest, it's the perfect place to get lost in. The whole vibe is about chaos, freedom, and just doing things your way. You'll find yourself in Hope County, Montana, where you get to go wild in a world that's ripe for exploration. filled with opportunities for combat, adventure, and a fair share of mayhem. One of the most exciting parts is the freedom. You can jump into whatever action you want, whenever you want. No strict order of missions, no linear paths, just a massive world to explore and conquer. From driving around in muscle cars to soaring through the skies and plains, everything feels like it's in your hands. And you're never really alone in this journey. You've got your own little squad of guns for hire, these NPCs who join you for the ride, adding an extra layer of fun to the game. Whether it's a sniper or a heavy hitter, having these allies around helps you take down foes and explore the world with a little backup. Speaking of backup, there's this awesome animal companion system. Forget just being human in this world. You can recruit animals like Boomer, a loyal dog, or even Cheeseburger the bear. They're not just cute sidekicks either. They're tough, and they help in combat. It's like your own personal zoo that gets the job done. Who wouldn't want a bear charging into battle, right? The gameplay itself keeps things fresh. Hogwarts Legacy. If you've ever dreamed of hopping onto a broomstick and flying around Hogwarts, casting spells, and just fully living out your magical fantasy, this game is your ticket to all that and more. It's like finally getting to step into the wizarding world and make your own adventure, minus the whole I'm Harry Potter thing. You're this brand new fifth-year student, so no pressure, right? You're thrown into the thick of it, learning magic, discovering weird, ancient powers. Yep, you're special, and just trying to navigate life at one of the most iconic schools ever. The thing is, you're not just in class trying to survive some potion exams. Nah, you're out here fighting goblins, dealing with dark wizards, and solving magical mysteries. And you get to explore places like Hogsmeade, the Forbidden Forest, and even dive into the hidden corners of Hogwarts that we only dreamt about in the books and movies. Talk about freedom. What makes it so fun is the sheer freedom to explore and create your own magical story. You can attend classes, sure, but who says you can't ditch class for a little adventure? Pick your favorite house, Ravenclaw all day, no judgment, customize your character to your liking, and start learning spells that'll make you feel like you're truly mastering the magical arts. And combat? It's a blast. You get to fling spells like you're in a duel with the whole wizarding world. Mix it up with defensive charms, offensive curses, and even plants and creatures that have your back. Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered is the perfect way to swing into action and experience a whole new level of superhero excitement. Whether you're new to the world of Spider-Man or you're jumping back in, this remastered edition does an excellent job of refining everything that made the original so special. One of the things that really stands out is how seamless everything feels. From the moment you take control, you're thrust into a vibrant and bustling New York City, where every corner feels alive. The fluidity of swinging through the streets, navigating skyscrapers, and dodging traffic just feels so satisfying. There's something about the sense of freedom that comes with being Spider-Man that makes every little trip across the city a joy. You're not just getting from point A to point B, you're enjoying every second of the ride. Combat, too, has been tightened up in the remastered version. The web-slinging, wall-crawling, and acrobatic moves come together in a way that feels really natural. It's one of those games where you can get into a flow, chaining together punches, web shots, and takedowns almost like you're performing a dance. And when you throw in the variety of suits and upgrades, it keeps things fresh every time you face off against a new wave of enemies. And let's not forget about the co-op content. If you want even more action, there's DLC that introduces additional missions and new suits. Whether you're playing through the extra content or revisiting the main game, there's always something to keep you hooked. Ghost Recon Wildlands drops you right into a vast open world that's ready for you to explore. And I mean explore. This game takes place in Bolivia, where you'll be tackling missions across jungles, mountains, deserts, and cities, all in an attempt to take down the Santa Blanca cartel. The map is huge, and there's just so much to see and do. You can drive, fly, and even swim your way around, making each mission feel a bit like a mini adventure of its own. The gameplay is all about tactics, but in a way that lets you get creative with how you approach situations. You can go in guns blazing, or you can take your time, sneak around, and plan each move. There's a lot of freedom in how you want to tackle things. It's not just about shooting everything in sight. It's about choosing the right moments to strike when to lay low, and how to work with your team for maximum impact. Speaking of the team, the game lets you go solo, but it really shines when you team up with others. You can play co-op with up to 4 players, which turns every mission into a tactical operation. You and your squad can plan your moves, coordinate attacks, or just mess around and see what happens. The game definitely pushes you to think about how you're going to work with your team, whether you're sneaking past enemies or taking out a base together. Customization is also a huge part of the experience. From weapons to gadgets to your character's skills, there's a ton of ways to make your loadout your own. Mafia 2. This one hits that sweet spot between cinematic drama and solid gameplay. It's like stepping into a classic mobster movie where everything feels larger than life, but still grounded in that gritty, day-to-day survival kind of way. The moment it drops you into Empire Bay, it's got that swagger old-school cars, smoky diners, trench coats, and the feeling that someone's always watching from the shadows. It's a city full of attitude, and every corner feels like it's hiding a story. The action leans into that satisfying mix of tactical cover shooting and straight-up explosive moments. There's a nice balance. Things never feel over the top, but there's definitely some punch when the bullets start flying, and the cover system does its job well, letting you play it smart rather than running and guns blazing every time. The gunplay itself has that gritty heft to it, and switching between different weapons has just enough variety to keep things fresh throughout. What really brings the world together is the day-to-day life vibe baked into everything. Whether you're fueling up at a gas station or changing your outfit to lay low, those little interactions make it feel more like you're living in this world rather than just passing through it. It's not just a city you explore, it's one you have to respect because it plays by its own rules. The driving feels authentic too, with cars from the era that don't exactly handle like modern sports cars, but that's part of the charm. Lining up that perfect shot never gets old, especially when the game gives you every reason to obsess over the details. Wind, distance, heart rate, even the angle of the target. That's where Sniper Elite Resistance instantly hooks you. This isn't just about pulling the trigger. It's about setting up the moment so perfectly that the payoff is as satisfying as it can possibly get. Sniper Elite Resistance really leans into the thrill of planning each encounter, especially when the game hands you the freedom to shape your own approach. One mission might have you stalking rooftops for the best sniping nest, while another lets you booby-trap paths, trigger environmental hazards, or even set up some sneaky diversions. There's something endlessly entertaining about the way it rewards patience as much as it rewards bold moves. The game shines the most when you start using all the toys it gives you. There's a whole loadout system that lets you tweak your gear, from swapping scopes to picking the right suppressor or even adjusting the ammo type depending on the challenge. Every mission turns into a kind of puzzle, and it's up to you whether you want to solve it loud or quiet, from a mile away or up close. What's fun is how the world around you can be just as deadly as your sniper rifle. Sniper Elite Resistance lets you rig traps and use the environment to your advantage, which makes the action feel way more creative than just a point-and-shoot affair. Yakuza 0 is an absolute blast, mixing the best of open-world action with a ton of cool side activities, all while delivering a seriously compelling experience. Set in the late 80s, you get to dive into the lives of 2 pretty iconic characters, Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima, as they rise through the ranks of the Japanese underworld. But what's really fun about this game is that it doesn't just make you fight your way through gritty streets, it gives you so much more to do along the ways. Let's start with the combat, which is easily one of the standout features. There's a whole bunch of different fighting styles, so you can switch things up mid-battle to suit the situation. Kiryu has his brawler, beast, and rush styles, letting you either go for a straightforward heavy-hitting approach or something quicker and more agile. Majima's got his own set with thug, slugger, and breaker, making every fight feel fresh. The best part is that you get to mix and match these styles depending on what's going down. It keeps combat feeling fluid and exciting. On top of that, there's a whole character progression system where you invest money into leveling up your abilities. And we're not talking about just the cash you earn from street fights, but money you make through all sorts of activities around the city. So if you're doing well at the businesses or even out on the streets helping people out, it all ties into your growth. It's a nice touch that makes the world feel connected in a way that keeps you engaged.